Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. A summary. Chapters 1-5. The Sisters and Their World. The March sisters live in Concord, Massachusetts during the Civil War. 16-year-old Meg works as a governess. 15-year-old Joe writes stories and serves as companion to Aunt March. 13-year-old Beth stays home playing piano and caring for dolls. And 12-year-old Amy attends school and dreams of being an artist. Their father serves as a chaplain in the war, while their mother, Marmee, manages the household with little money but great love. On Christmas morning, the girls decide to give their dollar allowances to buy Marmee a present instead of themselves. They also give their Christmas breakfast to a poor German family, the Hummels, showing their generous nature despite their own poverty. That evening, their wealthy neighbor, Mr. Lawrence, sends over a feast, and his grandson Laurie joins them for a small party. The sisters each struggle with personal flaws. Meg wishes for pretty things and social status. Jo battles her fierce temper and boyish ways. Beth fears strangers and hides from the world. Amy acts vain and selfish, caring too much about appearances. Marmee guides them through these challenges, teaching them to overcome their weaknesses through daily effort and moral strength. Jo meets Theodore Laurie Lawrence at a New Year's Eve party when she hides behind a curtain to avoid dancing. They become instant friends, bonding over books and shared loneliness. Laurie lives with his stern grandfather after losing his parents, and the March house becomes a second home where he finds the family warmth he lacks. The girls establish a secret society called the Pickwick Club, where they write and perform their own newspaper. Jo writes dramatic stories. Amy draws illustrations, and they hold weekly meetings in the attic. Laurie becomes an honorary member, bringing laughter and masculine energy to their female household. Chapters 6-10. Friendships and First Troubles. Mr. Lawrence proves kinder than his gruff exterior suggests, especially toward shy Beth. He gives her his grand piano when he learns of her musical talent and gentle nature. Beth overcomes her fear to thank him, and they develop a tender friendship based on their shared love of music. Meg attends a party with wealthy friends, the Moffats, where she drinks wine, flirts with men, and lets them dress her in fancy clothes and makeup. She enjoys the attention but feels ashamed afterward. Marmee gently explains that such behavior compromises her dignity and reputation, teaching Meg to value character over social approval. Amy burns Jo's manuscript in revenge for being left behind when Jo and Meg attend the theater with Laurie. The manuscript contained stories Jo had worked on for years. Jo refuses to forgive Amy until Amy falls through thin ice while skating and nearly drowns. The accident makes Jo realize how much she loves her sister, despite their quarrels. Laurie's tutor, John Brooke, begins paying attention to Meg, much to Jo's dismay. Jo fears losing her sister to marriage and tries to discourage the romance. When Aunt March threatens to disinherit Meg if she marries a poor man, it only strengthens Meg's feelings for John. The family faces anxiety when Mr. March falls ill with pneumonia while serving in the war. Marmee travels to Washington to nurse him, leaving the girls to manage alone. During her absence, Beth contracts scarlet fever from caring for the Hummel family's sick baby. Chapters 11-15. Sickness and Sacrifice. Beth's illness terrifies the family. Amy stays with Aunt March to avoid contagion, while Meg and Jo nurse Beth through the dangerous fever. Hannah, their devoted servant, helps care for Beth, while Jo refuses to leave her sister's bedside. When Beth's condition worsens, Jo cuts off her beautiful long hair and sells it for $25 to help fund their father's medical care. This sacrifice shows Jo's deep love for her family and her willingness to give up her vanity for their welfare. Laurie secretly sends word to Marmee about Beth's critical condition. Mr. Lawrence arranges transportation so she can return quickly from Washington. The crisis brings Mr. March home as well, and the family reunites as Beth begins her slow recovery. Beth survives the scarlet fever but remains weak and changed. She becomes even more gentle and homebound, content to help with household duties and play her piano. The illness marks a turning point in her character, making her more precious to her family who nearly lost her. Christmas arrives with the family together again. Mr. March has recovered from his illness and returns to civilian life. The girls have matured through their trials, each learning important lessons about sacrifice, responsibility, and the value of family bonds over material possessions. Chapters 16 to 20. Romance and Growing Up. John Brooke proposes to Meg. Despite Aunt March's objections about his poverty, Meg accepts his proposal, though Jo mourns the coming loss of her sister to marriage. The engagement faces obstacles when Aunt March threatens to cut Meg off financially, but the young couple's love proves stronger than material concerns. 3 years pass. Meg marries John Brooke in a simple ceremony at home, wearing her mother's wedding dress with orange blossoms in her hair. The wedding is modest but joyful, with family and close friends celebrating the union. Jo struggles with losing her closest sister, but gradually accepts John into their family circle. Amy grows from a spoiled child into a young lady with artistic ambitions. Aunt March takes her to Europe to provide cultural education and social advantages. Amy's time abroad exposes her to art, languages, and refined society, though she must also learn to navigate social expectations and moral choices. Jo travels to New York City to work as a governess for a wealthy family while pursuing her writing career. She lives in a boarding house where she meets Professor Friedrich Behr, a middle-aged German tutor who becomes her friend and moral guide. He encourages her to write meaningful literature instead of sensational stories for quick money. Laurie confesses his love to Jo, proposing marriage during a romantic moment. Jo gently but firmly refuses him, explaining that she loves him as a brother, but cannot return his romantic feelings. She believes they are too similar in temperament to make a good marriage, and that she is not ready for love. Chapters 21 to 25. Heartbreak and New Beginnings. Heartbroken by Jo's rejection, Laurie travels to Europe with his grandfather. He struggles with depression and disappointment, trying to forget Jo through travel and distraction. His grandfather worries about his health and spirits during this difficult period. In Europe, Laurie encounters Amy, who has matured into an elegant young woman under Aunt March's guidance. Initially, their meetings are awkward due to his recent heartbreak over Jo, but gradually they rediscover each other as adults rather than the children they once were. Amy has grown more thoughtful and less selfish during her European education. She studies art seriously, but also learns the harsh reality that talent alone may not be sufficient for professional artistic success. She must choose between material security and following her artistic dreams. Meg adjusts to married life with John, learning to manage a household on limited income. They face realistic challenges, including financial stress and the daily compromises required when two independent people join their lives. Their first year of marriage includes both happiness and difficulties. Beth continues to decline gradually after her bout with scarlet fever. Though the family hopes rest and care will restore her strength, she grows increasingly frail and homebound. Her gentle presence and musical gifts continue to bring comfort to those around her, even as her physical limitations become more apparent. Chapters 26 to 30. Love and Loss. Professor Behr's feelings for Jo deepen as they spend time together discussing literature and philosophy. Their relationship develops slowly through intellectual companionship and shared values rather than passionate romance. Jo begins to see him as more than a friend, though she struggles with her desire for independence. Amy and Laurie's relationship transforms from childhood friendship to adult love. After initially resisting his advances due to his previous feelings for Jo, Amy gradually recognizes that they have both changed and grown. Their shared experiences in Europe create a new foundation for romance. Laurie proposes to Amy during their time in Europe, and she accepts. Their engagement represents not only romantic fulfillment, but also the joining of two families who have become close through years of friendship. The news brings joy to both households despite the geographical distance. Jo returns from New York, having grown as both a writer and a person. Her relationship with Professor Bear has influenced her moral and artistic development, moving her away from sensational fiction toward more substantial literary work. She has also learned to value companionship and love alongside her independence. Beth's health deteriorates further as winter approaches. The family recognizes that she is slowly fading, despite their care and love. Beth herself accepts her condition with characteristic grace, finding peace in her faith and contentment in the simple joys of home and family. Chapters 31 to 35, Reunions and Revelations. Amy and Laurie return from Europe as a married couple, their wedding having taken place abroad with only Aunt March present. The family celebrates their homecoming and the happiness they have found together. Their marriage proves that love can grow from friendship and shared experiences. Professor Bear visits Concord, ostensibly on business, but really to see Jo. Their reunion confirms their mutual affection, and he proposes to her in the garden during a rainstorm. Jo accepts, finally ready to balance her independence with love and partnership. The family gathers for a double celebration of Amy and Laurie's return and Jo's engagement. Despite their initial differences, the family welcomes Professor Bear warmly, recognizing his positive influence on Jo and his genuine character beneath his modest circumstances. Beth grows weaker as spring arrives, spending her days quietly at home with her piano and needlework. The family treasures their time with her, knowing that her gentle presence may not be with them much longer. Her acceptance of her fate brings both sadness and peace to those who love her. Meg's domestic life continues to evolve as she learns to balance her roles as wife, daughter, and individual. Her marriage to John deepens through shared challenges and mutual support, showing that true love grows stronger through everyday trials and companionship. Chapters 36 to 40. New Ventures and Farewells. Jo and Professor Bear marry in a simple ceremony, beginning their life together with the dream of starting a school for boys. They purchase Plumfield, a large estate where they can combine Jo's love of writing with their shared commitment to education and moral development. Plumfield School opens with a handful of students, including some difficult boys that other institutions have rejected. Jo and Professor Bear create an environment based on love, understanding, and moral guidance rather than harsh discipline. The school embodies the values that have guided the March family. Amy's artistic education continues even after marriage, though she gradually accepts that her talents, while genuine, may not be sufficient for professional success. Instead, she finds fulfillment in using her aesthetic sense and cultural education to enrich her family and community life. Beth's condition continues to decline through the summer months. She spends peaceful days at home, finding joy in simple pleasures like watching birds from her window and playing gentle melodies on her piano. Her family surrounds her with love while slowly accepting the inevitable. The sisters maintain their close bonds despite their different paths in life. Meg focuses on her domestic duties and growing family. Jo balances writing with running the school. Amy applies her artistic sensibilities to social responsibilities. And Beth remains the gentle heart of the family home. Chapters 41-45. Seasons of Change. As autumn arrives, Beth's strength continues to ebb away. She faces her approaching death with characteristic peace and faith, more concerned about her family's grief than her own fate. Her gentle acceptance helps her family prepare for the loss they have long dreaded. The family spends precious time with Beth during what they know will be her final season. She enjoys simple pleasures like listening to Amy play piano, watching Joe write at her desk, and hearing about Meg's children. These quiet moments become treasured memories. Beth dies peacefully at home, surrounded by her family's love. Her passing brings profound grief, but also gratitude for the years of joy her gentle presence brought to their lives. The family finds comfort in their faith and in the knowledge that Beth's suffering is finally over. The death of Beth marks the end of childhood for the surviving sisters. They must adjust to life without the gentle sister who served as the moral center of their family. Each sister processes grief differently, while supporting the others through their shared loss. 1 year after Beth's death, the family has found new rhythms and purposes. Meg's children bring fresh life and joy to the household. Joe's school continues to grow and thrive. Amy channels her grief into charitable work and community service. Marmee and Father find comfort in their remaining daughters and grandchildren. Chapters 46 to 47. Full circle. The story concludes with a family gathering that demonstrates how the sisters have grown while maintaining their essential bonds. Each has found her own path to fulfillment, while continuing to contribute to the family unit that shaped their development throughout their youth and young adulthood. Joe's school at Plumfield has become successful, combining education with moral development in ways that reflect the values she learned in her childhood home. Her writing continues to evolve, and her marriage to Professor Bear provides the intellectual companionship and emotional support she needs to flourish as both educator and artist. Amy and Laurie's marriage has deepened into a partnership that combines romantic love with shared social responsibilities. Amy uses her cultural education and aesthetic sense to support charitable causes, while Laurie has matured from a fun-loving boy into a responsible man who contributes meaningfully to his community. Meg's domestic life represents the fulfillment of her early dreams, though tempered by the realities of managing a household on modest means. Her marriage to John has survived early challenges to become a stable partnership, and their children carry forward the March family traditions of love, integrity, and service to others. The March parents, Marmee and Father, take satisfaction in seeing their daughters established in meaningful lives that reflect the moral principles they taught. Though Beth's absence is still felt, her memory continues to inspire the family toward gentleness, selflessness, and contentment with simple joys. The final scene brings together 3 generations of the March family, showing how the values of love, sacrifice, and moral character continue to guide them. The little women have become mature adults who face life's challenges with the strength and wisdom gained through their shared experiences of joy and sorrow, triumph and loss, always supported by the unbreakable bonds of family love.